Good morning, everyone, and a very happy Saturday to you. Welcome to our Be Your Own North Star series. And we have with us here today, sorry, my voice is a bit of, it's troubling me today. We have with us here Medea Kalantar. I hope I said your last name properly. Medea.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome to our show. And it's such an honor to have you. Medea is a Reiki master. Medea is all about love. She embodies love. It's like oozing out of her. Whenever I speak with her, whenever I'm in her presence, I become a little baby, like give me all that love. I feel so loved. It's like sweetness dropping from her words. And it's such an honor to have someone so loving. And I know you as
Thank you.
this powerful being, human being, that is that has the element of divine. She's so present about her divinity as well as her powers of love. And she's written such beautiful books for children that I love. And I'd be a child to read them over and over again. And then when I heard, I can go on and on about Medea. When I heard her audiobooks with her voice, I was like, oh my God, I want to listen to her keep telling me stories. So she is that lovely. And, it won't be a mystery. When she speaks and shares her story, the way she speaks and the way she holds herself, you will know who she really is. So, without saying further, there's no introduction that'll do justice to who Medea really is. No words can describe her. You
Oh,
have to feel her being. And I'm pretty sure while she's talking, there's like love vibes and sweetness vibes just flowing through her. So over to
thank
Medea,
you. Thank you so much, my
please.
darling Sharon. I'm so honored to be here with you. And I'm so proud of everything that you've accomplished because you are the true North Star, with everything that you've
Thank you.
overcome. And the fact that you're now starting this podcast and this show where giving voices to others to share and influence, because
Thank
I
you.
always say we have to, share our story because your story can change or help someone else. It could be their survival guide. So
Right.
it's beautiful that you're doing this. So thank you for having me, and I'm really honored. So
Thank you. Thank
go
you
ahead.
so much. Thank you, Medea. I receive all your appreciation. I would like you to tell us a little bit about yourself,
Yes.
a little bit about your story. Tell us something that we don't know. I know that you're an author and a Reiki
Yes.
master, but what led you to all of this?
Absolutely. So I actually was born in Georgia, south of Russia, and I came to Canada when I was 4 years old. So my family immigrated here. Um, and I had at that time one older sister, and then I had two other young ones. So my life was not a great childhood. Fortunately, that's how it was. That was my chosen path. I always say, to become
Hmm.
this loving light being of others, to share love and light. I had a very abusive and torturous childhood. Um, my father would, with physically, emotionally, sexually, anything, pretty much used me as his own personal slave to do whatever he wanted. And I had a hard time with that because, I didn't understand like why, what did I do to deserve something like this? So most of my childhood and most of my young youth, I
Yes.
always saw myself as a victim, right? I didn't understand. And I was
Yes.
very suicidal. Like I didn't want to
Hmm.
be here. I felt like I don't belong here. And I felt like everywhere I went, I didn't belong. Like there was something different about me compared to everyone else. I didn't understand it. And I tried really hard to get my mom and my sisters to leave, but they were so fearful under my father's influence because he did, of course, would threaten, like, put gasoline on you and watch each other burn because if you leave
Right.
or tell anything, so he put that fear, living fear in them. Um,
Right.
but I couldn't take it. I just couldn't take it. And as soon as I was 16, I knew that I could leave. So I just left the house, pretended I was going to one of the restaurants because they owned restaurants, and I had to work from 4:30 in the morning till 8 a.m. to the restaurant, go to school, then come back till closing. And then I was opening and closing restaurants and training staff at 10 years old because that's what I was doing. I was working and going to school and nothing in between. Like there was nothing.
Right. Right.
And help raise my other two younger sisters once they were born because there's a 10-year age gap between us.
Mhm.
So when I was 16, I left home and I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. I went to one of the restaurants. I took whatever cash was there, which was nothing because, you know, when you leave on the weekend, they usually have nothing there. But I left with nothing, with just the clothes on my back. And I was going to, I don't know, I went to the Greyhound in Toronto and I bought a one-way ticket to Niagara Falls. Why? I don't know. I just didn't know what I was doing. I just thought I had to go. And while I was in the lineup waiting for the bus, I was asking people, did they know anybody that, you know, in Niagara Falls and maybe needed a live-in nanny? Because I'm really good at looking after children. I'm really organized. And even though I was only 16, and this one lady just looked at me and she's like, honey, are you okay? Like, do you need help? And she says, before you get on this bus, because you don't know where you're going, call this number. And I'm like, okay. And then of course I had to go to a payphone because like we didn't have cell phones back then. Right.
Right.
So, so I went to the payphone and it was Covenant House. And they said, come right now, like just come, we will take care of you. And I didn't know there was such places because I was very controlled and sheltered. So I didn't really know the outside, even though I was so strong in other ways and than most kids, but there was things in
Right.
life I didn't know about. So I went there. I just felt like I was being led. And because I always feel I was always guided somehow by, I had spiritual
Right.
guides and felt like I was being guided,
Right.
always being protected somehow and guided, even though
Right.
I had stuff happening to me, I was somehow always being guided. And I went there and then they put me to a girls group home and I lived there for a little bit until I had a full-time job and I could afford living on my own. So, you know,
Right.
I made it out into the world and I was like, you know, I went the ladder really quickly and I was an executive, like, you know, in marketing. At 18, I was renting a house and
Wow.
making $2,000 a week. And because I was just a go person and no one really knew like
Right.
my background. I never showed it, never showed. I wore this beautiful mask and I presented myself with grace because that's just who I
And
was. I just felt like that's who I was. And then
right.
on my birthday, on my 20th birthday, I was going down the street with my friends and they were playing a song in a restaurant and they, you know, turn up that music because it was singing happy birthday. It was my birthday. And that was
Oh,
coincidence that that was happening. And
right.
the gentleman came out of the restaurant and he's like, whose birthday is it? And they're like, it's hers. And then um, there was something between us for some reason. And then I was like, oh yeah, he's cute. Like, you know, whatever. I put my glasses down. I looked and when I was walking away, they're like, we're going to give him your number. I'm like, no, don't give him my number. Like, you know, like I don't give anybody my number. But they did. And the funny story is that that was my husband. Like we met on my day. And the same day his nephew was born. So we actually share a birthday with his nephew. And there was a
Oh,
lot going on that the universe was bringing us together because that
right.
restaurant, I knew the owners because I used to babysit, my parents used to own that restaurant, which was another weird kind of incident. So six
Right.
months later, you know, we got married and I was pregnant. So I was pregnant with my daughter and we got married. And then at 20, I was married. And then at 21, I had my daughter. And then I had my
Mm.
son at 22. And here I was, a young mom. And, you know, he was a, you know, North American karate champion, but he was working at the restaurant as a manager to make money. And, you know, I thought, okay, I did it. I made the family that I've always wanted. I've always wanted someone to love me.
Right.
And I was hungry for
Wow.
that love. I was searching for that love. I'm like, you know, this is what I wanted. And then during that time, my you know, just before my daughter was born, my mom finally had the strength to leave my father. So I got to rekindle my relationship with my mom and my sisters. And my mom was
Mm,
actually there for the birth of my daughter, so which was really beautiful.
mm,
Um,
right.
yeah. So, but there was so much healing to do within our relationship because I felt abandoned by her too, because like, why didn't you have the strength to protect your children? Because as a mother, I had all of a sudden I had blame on her. I'm like, I would protect my kids. I'm a
Right.
lioness. Why wouldn't you? And it wasn't until at age 32, I was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder. And the doctor said, you're not going to make it. Say goodbye to your kids, say goodbye to your husband. You're not going to make it because you're going to die. Because my hemoglobin was at 22. I had no color. It was awful. But it
Wow.
was that moment when I was hovering over my body. I felt like I was like kind of ascending to the next realm because, here I was like ready to go. And I could see myself over my body and I could see my children and
Wow.
my mom. And I'm like, this is my chance. I get to get the hell out of here. I've always wanted not to be here. So I thought.
Right.
So I thought, right?
Right.
Right. Because, like, even though I was married and I had a house and I had a husband, I was still very unhappy. And this is what I truly believe now is that when you don't resolve your
Yes.
past pain,
Yes.
it manifests into an illness because you're holding it in. And then,
Right.
the anger, the pain, without forgiveness, because forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. So you're not holding on to it. And I realize that now.
Mm,
And while I was hovering over, I said, do I really want to leave? Is this what I really want to do? And
right.
I had to make a decision. I'm like, no, I didn't go through all that crap through my childhood and, going through my, young adult life, trying to survive and trying to make it to go out this way. There's something I have to still do. I felt like I had a purpose for some reason.
Right.
And I fought like crazy to
Wow.
not die. But
Yes.
which was really difficult because 3 years I was in and out of the hospital. I had a central line pumping 250 mils of prednisone in my body and Eviran
Mm,
and all kinds of other medication to
right.
offset the side effects, which made me blow up so much that you couldn't even see my nose, my eyes. Like I gained 150 pounds from all this medication. Because I don't know if anybody knows what prednisone does, but you develop the moon face and the hump on your back and you shake. And it was really difficult because I went from being 140 pounds to this, like 320 pounds, like almost like whatever it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really huge. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, I felt bad, but I felt more bad for my children because they felt embarrassed because like I was constantly shaking because I couldn't hold my fork and being present in front of other people for them, I felt bad for them because I felt like I was embarrassing them, because my
Mm,
daughter was a high performance athlete and she was two-time Canadian champion and four-time provincial champion, and my son was in karate and dance team, and they were very active and I was very active with them, and I went to every event, like I
right.
always say I got married to be a single mom, right? Because like we did everything for
Right.
our children. But then I realized my husband was working 18 hours a day and he did what he could, but I was their main source. So I looked at
Right.
this whole,
Right.
yeah. So I looked at this whole situation as a blessing because it made me forced to say, okay, give up the control, lady, because because I always felt like if I didn't control everything, then nothing will go
Right.
right because something will go right because I had to control. I had to control every
Right.
situation. And I realized I had to release that. I had to let that go. And if it wasn't done, it doesn't mean it wasn't done. It just wasn't done the way I liked it. And I had to
Mm,
realize
right.
that, and then it forced my
Right.
husband to be more connected with my kids. And then they had more of a relationship, which was like, so that's why I would say there's always a blessing in everything. There was a lesson to be taught here. I had to go through those things again, trials and tribulations. And And then, by the time I hit my 40s, my kids were grown and they went to university, and then everything they were supposed to do. Now they're working and they have their partners. And I said, I never really looked after myself. Like I never did anything for me. And that's what most moms,
Mm,
right? Like we all can relate
mm,
because we always give, give, give,
right.
give to everyone else, but we don't do anything for
Absolutely.
ourselves. So I said,
Right.
I have to do self-love work because I felt like I didn't love myself enough. Like I loved everyone else.
Right.
But really, truly now as a Reiki master and, intuitive healer and spiritual teacher, I realized that the work begins with you, always with you. That if you don't have that self-love, that, how would you give that to anyone else? Even though I thought I loved my children, and I do, I love them unconditionally, but I was doing an injustice to them by, because I
Right.
would look at myself and I would say such negative things about myself all the time. I would lift them up, but I would be negative about
Right. I
myself.
hear you.
And
I hear
what is
you.
that teaching them? What is that teaching them, right? Like, what are we
Right.
teaching our children? Because like, yeah, they're like, yeah, mom, you're telling us all these great things about us, but why are you tearing yourself down, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I just started to, I went around and that's when Deepak Chopra and Oprah had their 21-day meditation challenge, and it was free, and
Oh,
I'm like,
you
okay,
did that?
I'm gonna try it
I
out.
did that
And
too.
that, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did
I
that.
did that
So
too.
that's how it started for me. That's how it started. I started to do meditation, and then I would go on YouTube and I would start searching things, and then this course popped up. It says, "Do you want to be a Reiki master?" I'm like, "What's Reiki?" And I started to look for it, and I went into looking into it, and I realized I was doing that all along. I never realized I was doing Reiki because whenever my kids were sick, I would put my hand on them and I would do a mantra in Georgian to, like, take away whatever is, making them feel sick or whatever is
The
bothering them.
negative,
Negative,
negative
right?
vibe.
Negative energy,
Mm,
right? And that's what really Reiki or any kind of healing is the intention of love, right? It's the pure intention of love. But I
right.
went deeper and I went and did all my levels and became a master. I'm like, oh my God, this is my soul purpose. Like, this is what I'm meant to be doing, because prior to that, I was working in corporate world. I worked at Rogers, and I worked at Shaw, and each time I would get laid off, like my whole department, not just me. So I'm like, after the third time, I'm like, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what is it that, that I'm supposed to be doing? And that's how I
Right.
found my soul purpose. And that's when I started to do Reiki and energy healing. And
Awesome.
really start to do my own self-love work, because any relationship, when I work with my clients, you have to start with your own. I always start with self-love, because your relationship, you have to work on it first before you work on any other relationship, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, so I started on that path. And then in 2018, my daughter Shanaz, who just got recently engaged with her fiance after being 5 years together, she found out she was pregnant. And that was a miracle in itself, because my daughter suffers from PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, right?
Mm,
So the doctor always said she would have a difficult time, getting pregnant or having children. Sometimes, like, I love, like, the both Eastern and Western. I believe that we have to combine together. There are some things that, I don't say one or the other, I say both.
mm.
But
Right.
sometimes their methodology, like the way they approach people,
Right.
like when they told me, like, you're not going to make it, you're going to, say goodbye. Why would they say that to you? Know what I mean? They should, because, like, whenever you go somewhere in the doctor, what's the first thing they say? You have to keep their spirits high, because this is when I learned that you can do anything you want, because you have to decide. Because things happen to us, right? We can't control what happens to us, but we have a choice how we respond and how we react. And that's
I'll
what I had to
interrupt
learn.
here. I'll
Yeah,
interrupt here because
yeah,
there's a very important thought coming. You raised something very powerful. So, it's very true. Why would a doctor tell you you're not going to make it? He has no idea.
right,
Why
exactly,
can't he actually say, "Hey, I don't know how to help you.
right,
I only know so much."
exactly, exactly,
That it's true because that's where that's beyond him, and that's where the realm of miracles begin.
exactly. Because if people believe, they just have that little bit of hope that, I'm going to persevere, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do it, then they're fighting, and they're going to make themselves
Right.
survive, right?
Right.
Because it's your decision. No, but not amount of prayers. It's beautiful to have all that energy, that loving energy that we're, giving out, but it's
Right.
initially up to you. And if you're not willing to fight, and if you're not going to willing to do that journey, you're not going to make it. And that's the worst thing, is that, you're already fearful, because I love this quote that I love Maya Angelou so much. And it's true. She always says, fear and hope can't occupy the same space. You choose which one you invite to stay. Right. But
Right.
most people, when they hear cancer, when they hear this or that, the first thing that comes into them is fear, and they get consumed into that
Right. Yes.
fear, that they don't give themselves a fighting chance and let hope guide them. Whatever is meant to be is meant to be, guys. We're all going to pass away one time or another, because this is a vehicle. Like, this is not who we are. This is not our
Temporary.
essence. Right? This
Right.
is just a vehicle, right?
Absolutely.
Our sole purpose, we're all light beings. And, I am you, you are me. I'm a reflection of you, and you're a reflection of me. And that's why, I always say, thank you for, whatever you see me is what I see in you. Because at the end of the day, we're all one, right? It doesn't matter
Right.
where we come from, what
Right.
color our skin is. So anyways, I'm jumping back and forth. I'm jumping all these things. So in 2018, my daughter found out she was pregnant. And then I was so excited and so elated that I was going to become a grandmother, that in honor of my own grandma, my baby that passed away, I started to bake a honey cake, because it was like a full circle moment. Here I was going to become a grandmother, and honey cake is usually made for any type of celebration, So while I was making the honey cake, I was looking at all the different ingredients and spices in it, because there's so many different rich ingredients. It's not a typical cake. It's almost like a cross between sponge cake and a pound cake, but it's that kind of density, but it's not light, but it's not too fluffy either. And it has cloves and cinnamon and nutmeg and coffee, and of course honey, right? That's what makes it the moist. And the longer it sits in the container, the more potent and more delicious it becomes, because now all the spices
God.
and everything gets to.
I want to eat your honey cake now.
It's at the recipe's at the back of first book.
I know. No. I don't want to make it. I want to eat something that you make.
Of course.
It'll be
It's always
different.
the case, right? Yes. So the ingredients reminded me of my future grandchild, because the correlation between the cake and correlation between humanity, that we're making this one equal, beautiful human being. So because I'm from Georgia, my husband's Persian, but Brandon is Guyanese and Jamaican. So my grandchild, is all this mix of ethnicities, and that's what honey cake means. And the thing is, here I was put in the situation where I was becoming a grandmother, and I woke up one morning, and I was like in a trance, honestly, Shereen. I can't explain it any other way. I was getting a download. And I wrote 5 books in 4 days. Right. And I have no background in literary. I had no intention of ever being a writer. I never thought that this is what my purpose was. I thought I found my purpose. My purpose was, doing Reiki and helping people with, energy healing and spiritual guidance. But it's always evolving, right? You can never say that's your one true purpose. It starts there and then evolves, right, into more of a bigger thing.
Absolutely.
So I'll just quickly go through the books, explaining what it is. So the books are teaching, first of all, showcasing multicultural, diverse families, because there's so many children and families like ours who don't have representation, whether in books or anything. So I wanted to showcase that, but I didn't want to just talk about race. I wanted to teach valuable life lessons. So shifting the universe in a positive direction, because children are so malleable unless taught otherwise. So I'm planting these little seeds of hope and positivity, but at the same time, it's entertaining, educating, and empowering and enlightening children and families all over the world. So the first book, Honeycake, A Family of Spices, is introducing readers to a diverse family, filled with love. And there it is.
I have them all.
And
such beautiful books.
Thank you. And it's all my actual family. So it's like every illustration you see is the actual family.
I love them.
Thank you. The only person that's fictional is Nala, because the time I wrote them, I didn't know what my daughter was having, right? She ended up actually having a
Right.
little boy, which Luca makes appearance in the fifth book. So the first book is teaching ancestry. So the grandmother's baking a honey cake with Nala and teaching her how each delicious ingredient represents a different family member with his or her unique ethnic background. And again, the moral of the story is that no matter where you come from or what color your skin is, we're all one race, and that's the human race.
Right.
And then the second book, Help Us Swallow the Butterfly, is teaching children how to overcome anxiety and stress. How important is that, especially right now, like with COVID and pandemic? These kids are going through so much more than usual, the anxiety that they're feeling. So there's step-by-step breathing techniques, there's meditation, and also setting positive intentions for the day. So visualizing, teaching these kids, because I didn't start this until I was 40. Could you imagine if we started kids early on? By the time they're adolescents,
Yes.
they have the tools they need, because life is challenging at any age. But with the right tools and the right mindset, you can overcome any obstacle, right?
Right.
So that was really
Absolutely.
important. Yeah. And then the third book, Special Magical Powers, is teaching the powers we all have, which is kindness. And I always say that love is my church and kindness is my religion, because I truly believe
Wow.
that. Right?
Beautiful. I am
Right.
getting goosebumps.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
So, she goes, journeying around town, and she's learning how even just simple things like smiling can change a person's day from bad to good. Or, but they're going to Rainbow Hall to donate their clothes and toys to children and families who have lost everything. How many kids are actually exposed to that kind of thing, where they see that not everybody is blessed like them? They're living a little bit of a, not privilege, but a very blessed life, because there are families that are struggling. So exposing children and getting them involved in the spirit of giving, not just at
Right.
Christmas and not just special occasions, but on a daily basis, because kindness is needed now more than ever, right? Because
Right.
we need to be kind to each other. So
Right.
making it a special magical power is a fun thing for kids to know. I have a power inside of kindness.
Superpower.
I have a
Yes.
superpower, right?
Yes.
So, and then the fourth book, A Circle of Trust, is teaching families and children how to have honest and open communication
Very important.
in a safe space. Building that foundation of trust, because if we don't build that with our children when they're young, building that safe haven so they can come to you and discuss anything without worrying of being judged or ridiculed or punished in any way, having that safety net. And how important is that? Because that's building relationships from children, then they have that trust for them with their coworkers or the relationship.
Right.
That seed moves on to every relationship of their life. And of course, the fifth book, Counting All My Blessings, is teaching children about the importance of gratitude, right? So, she's about to
Right.
become a big sister, and she gets so overcome with anger and jealousy because she sees all the attention that the baby is getting. And then when the grandmother calls her Honeycake, she loses it, and she gets overcome by these emotional monsters of the green-eyed monster. But then the
Yes.
beauty of these books is also getting away from the old way of doing things, because we've all been programmed, to do things a certain way. And without even us knowing, think about it. When a child, gets upset about something, or it's acting up and not acting properly, what are the two ways that we usually handle that we've been taught? Either reprimand them, tell them to be
Time out.
quiet, and time out, shush, be quiet, don't speak, or you give them a sweet treat to keep them quiet,
Right.
but
Bribe.
but by doing that, what are we teaching them? We're teaching them two things. One, you can never voice your opinion. You can never express how you're feeling. So from the age of conception to the age of 7, there are subconscious programming, that things that you tell your children, even it doesn't have to be trauma, but even that little thing that you do can go into their subconscious. And then once they grow up, they're thinking, I can never voice my opinion. I have to keep quiet. I have to be subservient. I have to can't voice my thoughts and feelings, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or, oh, whenever I'm upset, I'm going to become an emotional eater. I've been given sweets all my life. Whenever I become, can you imagine?
Right.
Right? We
Very
never
true.
realized that trigger that we've been taught as a child. Why do we
Right.
have eating disorders? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Because that little seed was put into our head from a young age. You know,
Right.
Like when people are struggling with money and finances when they're adults, why did that happen? Well, let's look back. When you were a child, you went to a store, you were so excited to buy a bicycle, but your parents said, we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money's hard to come by. So that thought was put into your head, and you believe that story, even though it's not your story.
Mm.
And then you live life out thinking that
Right.
money's hard. I can't make
Right.
money because money doesn't
Right.
grow on trees. So,
This is you remind me of a funny conversation we had once.
okay.
My daughter, one of my kids, Ruby, she
Yes.
was very young, and she heard someone say money doesn't grow on trees. And she comes to me and she says, Mommy, money is made of paper. Paper grows on trees. Money grows on trees.
Yes, Ruby. Yes, Ruby.
I burst out laughing.
Love it. See, she
She
has that.
wouldn't,
She wouldn't take it. She wouldn't
no,
take it, right?
no.
She said, "No, that's BS. That's not true." Right? But most kids don't understand because whoever they're surrounded with, they believe, right? Because
Right,
they don't have that mindset yet to say, "No, that's not true what
right.
you're telling me," because they don't understand. They're learning,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that's why these books, so even technically they're children's books, they're gentle reminders for parents
Absolutely.
to remember the core values and to shift their perspective on the way they usually were programmed to do things, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's all generational programming. It's all things that, it's not even our own thoughts. It's not even our own beliefs, but we continue them because that's what we've been told. And we have to break free. And that's what I love. If you notice, because my kids are, in their late 20s now, but I see a difference. Do you see a difference how they're the ones that they're trying to break that generational
Yes,
conditioning of limited
yes,
beliefs, right? They're trying to say, no,
absolutely.
this is not true. The awakening is so beautiful in the youth right now. It's just, I love it. Like they're going to be
Absolutely.
the change makers. But why? Because they see us, our generation,
Making
changing,
the effort. Yes,
making the effort. We're changing, we're
yes,
evolving. We're not stuck in that old way of thinking. And that's the
right.
beauty of it. So, and that's pretty much it. And now, like, I am really blessed because because the message of the books is so powerful, is really resonating with people all over the world. And I couldn't even be more grateful for that, because that's what the intention was to set it out free to the world. And I felt like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I felt like, I was giving this reason, because I always say thank you to God for allowing me to serve and influence the world in a positive direction, because that's what I'm here for. That's my sole purpose. And
Right.
everything I've gone through in my, all the challenges, because I don't believe in
Mm.
problems, or I believe in challenges, because we rise above, right? And
Right.
we rise through our challenges. And I don't see myself as a victim. I see myself as a victor. And we're not only here just to make it, we're here to make it better. And once we learn that, and that we are in charge of our own destination, we are our own creator. We
Right.
create, we navigate. Like, because I said before, we don't, we can't control what happens around us. We can't control that, but we can
Right.
control what we do. We are,
Right.
how we react and how we respond, and what our next steps are. So that's really important. And this is what I love sharing my story, is that, guys, I went through tragedy and turmoil as a child, and in my youth. I didn't have a proper education. I didn't have any of that, but look what I've become. Like, I'm an award-winning author, internationally best-selling author. Now my books are being picked up and being adapted into an animated TV series that's being pitched
Yeah.
to Warner Brothers and Disney and all these places. And I'm like, I'm so blessed. It's going to be, shown in a worldwide. The messages are going to get there even better. And
Right.
why? Because I didn't let fear stop me. I didn't let fear of not know the unknown, because I wasn't a writer. I didn't know what to do, and I self-published. I found ways to overcome every obstacle. Right, like for my books, because it cost me $5,600 just to publish one book, but I got a sponsor, and I said, if you sponsor me, you have your little blurb at the back of my book worldwide for life, and it
Right.
offset the cost of each book. And then, and I just found ways to overcome every obstacle. And I learned and I made mistakes, and that's
Right.
okay, right? And people always think that, oh, making mistakes is bad and it's failure. No, honey, that's where we learn our most important life lessons. And that's the beauty of the fifth book too, that it's teaching about living in gratitude and counting your blessings, but not only when things go right in your life, but when you are faced with challenges, that you have to be grateful for those lessons as well, because
Right.
that's what makes you who you are, right? So I'm
Absolutely.
grateful. I'm grateful for my childhood. I'm grateful for every pain I've been through. I'm grateful for every health issue, because it's a reminder, oh, why am I not feeling well today? Why am I going through this? I'm not looking after myself. I'm not taking the time. So it's so important to do forgiveness letters, write down, and it's okay. Say what you're feeling. Like, don't hold back. Like, this person did this and did this and this. Say it. Say it. Don't hold it inside. But then say, but I forgive you, and burn it.
Right.
Say what
Right.
they did, because we're not saying what they did was okay. We're not saying it's okay. Never. That's why if
Right.
somebody does something to you, you don't say, oh, it's okay. No, I never say it's okay,
It's
because what you did was not okay. I say, I forgive you.
absolutely.
I forgive you. And then move
and
on.
and and wholeheartedly forgive,
And
not just
wholeheartedly
say
forgive.
it.
Exactly. And wholeheartedly forgive. Because again, it's not for them, it's for you. Because if
Right.
you do not, you will then absorb any kind of, you would start getting sick. You would manifest an illness,
Absolutely.
because that's what happens. Your
Absolutely.
chakras get blocked, right? And you're holding on to things that no longer serve you. And it's really important to release it.
Absolutely.
So that's
Right.
that.
Right. It's a very important thing you've raised, with forgiveness. And what my experiences have been sometimes, uh, you know, it's your righteousness that takes over, and like, how we feel like what that person did to me is not right, is not acceptable. So that
Right.
becomes
Yes.
more important and more significant than letting go. And sometimes
Yes.
that forgiveness, like for me, uh, in certain situations, I've taken longer to forgive, and that's okay too. I've
Yes.
actually taken time. It has taken a lot of work on my part, and it has taken sometimes a couple of years for me to let go and forgive, because I've
Mm-hmm.
had to work on myself, and it's been hard to,
Exactly.
and that's what it was. I was initially trying to suppress my own feelings of,
Yeah.
not feeling good about what someone did to me. And I tried to suppress that. And what I made it mean was that if I forgive that person, then I'm accepting that whatever I have to accept that what he did to me was right. And,
Yes.
those are two different things.
Right.
You may remember what that
That's
person
right.
did to you and have nothing to do with that
That's right.
person ever again, but feel
Exactly.
complete about it. There's full closure. There's
That's right.
full closure. And
That's right.
and it's like he's like any other person,
That's right.
and you don't have any ill feelings or malice towards him.
Exactly.
Yes, so
That's exactly right.
forgiveness is not an easy thing. It takes
Yes.
time. We have to acknowledge that, but it
Yes.
is doable, and it's
Yes.
for our own good. It did make me sick. It did
Yeah.
make me
Yeah.
sick too.
Like,
You know.
exactly, because all that
Yes.
negative energy that gets trapped into our bodies, where's it going to go? It's going to manifest
Right.
into an illness. And that's why I teach
Right.
people that, and whatever people get, and we're not saying you deserve getting what you get, your illness. We didn't
Nobody.
ask for it. Nobody asked for it, and we're not saying that at all. What we're saying is that because you were consumed by all that
Yes.
anger, all that hurt, and all that pain, you let it consume you, that it swallowed you up, and you didn't let the light in.
Right.
You didn't let the light in to heal. And forgiveness is healing energy. It heals you,
Yes.
in all
Yes.
levels. And that's how you have to look at it. Forgiveness is not, it's a healing tool. It's a healing tool. Forgiveness and gratitude, two biggest healing tools, you know,
And both are based in love,
exactly. Uh,
unconditional love.
unconditional love. unconditional.
Mm.
So, and that's why it's so important. Like, every day I wake up, the first thing I say is, thank you, God, for another day of being alive. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Like, because I'm grateful for this moment, because we're in this present, we're in this moment. And I'm grateful for this very moment being with you and speaking your truth. I love that story. I always say, I talk about the Starfish Story. Have you heard about this story? The Starfish Story? Okay,
Which one?
I'll tell you. So the
Mm.
Starfish Story is, there's a man walking down this long beach,
Yes.
and he sees this little boy far off in the distance picking something up from the sand and throwing it back into the water. And as he gets closer and approaches this little boy, he sees that he's picking up starfish and throwing them in the water. And he says, like, young man, what are you doing? He's like, well, there was a high tide last night and all the starfish got washed up on the shore, and I'm picking them up and throwing them back into the water so they won't die. And the man laughed at the boy and said, are you kidding me? You know how many miles and stretches of beach there is? You're not going to help every single one of them. The boy just looked at the man. He's bent down, pick up the starfish, he threw it in the water, says, well, I'm making a difference in that one's life. At least I can help one person, one starfish at a time. And that
Right.
is so powerful, is that each one of us has the ability to make a difference in this world, one at a
Absolutely.
time, one day at a time. So you just have to take it by moment and stop thinking, living in the past or living in the future. Live in the present, because this is what counts
Right.
right now.
Right.
You
Right.
can have goals and aspirations, but like, how people say, like, I remember with my children all the time, I can't wait until I finish high school. Then I can go to university, right? I can go to university.
Mm.
I can't wait till I finish university to get a job. I can't wait till I get a girlfriend. I can't, honey, stop waiting. Because if you're not happy in this very moment, you're not going to be happy then, because you're not appreciating what you have at this very moment. And that's what people are saying. I cannot wait. Make it happen now. Make your happiness now, whatever it is. Even in COVID, I know we're all stuck and we're all, in lockdown, especially in Ontario. It's a very difficult time, but give yourself something to do that's joyful every day, no matter what it is.
Right.
Turn on up that music, dance like you're nobody's business, dance, 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 go crazy, play, get on the ground, play with your children or your grandchildren, whoever it is, become a child, play,
Right.
you
Very
know, we
important.
forget to play, guys. Like, we
It kind
become
of
these,
loosens up all that tightness inside you, like
right?
we're all like this, living our lives
Yes,
like tight. Yes,
yes.
it
We're
does.
all like living, walking zombies. It's like, like
Right.
when you get in the car and you got home, you don't even remember, how did I get home? Because you're an autopilot,
Yes,
right? We're all
very
this,
true.
right? We're all
Living
this.
our lives like that.
Exactly. Wake
Right.
up, find the joy in everyday life. Like, I know COVID has been difficult. A lot of people have lost, financial income. Like, I lost my
Yes.
business because I have no immune system. I can't do Reiki in person. I can't do that.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm doing it with distance healing on Zoom. However I can help, I lowered my prices. I give it out free, especially to frontline workers, because they're all going through such a hard time. I'm like, how can I give back? Because in life, it's all
Wow.
about giving back and serving, right? It's all about
Right.
service. And,
That's the
you know,
secret.
with the intention of helping, that's the secret. Being of
Yes.
service to others in any capacity, no matter what you're able to do. We all able here to serve and be kind and loving to one another. And eventually, God will find a way, or the universe or love, source, energy, whatever you believe in, will find a way to make sure that you're okay and taken care of. And that's why I never worry about finances. I'm like, somehow something will happen. Some me get through the next whatever it is, because I'm here to serve. You know, we're
Right.
part of this collective of this love energy of giving back to humanity, because it's needed in this dark times that we're living in, and we can't get consumed in it, and just look at everything as a blessing. Everything is a blessing.
Absolutely.
If you When
Absolutely.
you change your mind, you change your world. When you shift the way you think, your perspective, everything changes. The answers are always there in front of you. You're just wearing these glasses of doubt. Take away the doubt and the fear, and then everything will be revealed to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah,
See, that's so powerful, and how you are conscious. This is like conscious living, conscious. Your books are all about conscious parenting, and
that's right.
it is true. And what I've learned from my own life is, if you, like, I found my North Star moment, but to retain that
Yes,
North Star moment and to keep
yes,
going, is the best way to do that is to serve, you know, lift someone else up,
that's right.
share your story
Exactly.
and encourage someone else to be that way and find their North Star moment. And every time I touch someone's life, and encourage them to find their own North Star, it is a reinforcing for me that, I kind of relearn my own lesson. I keep relearning it. And every time there's
That's
something
right.
new in that,
That's right.
and so I guess that's what you're doing too, with your books, with your
Absolutely.
communication and all that you're creating. And tell me one thing, because you've really been through a lot. I mean,
Yep.
I didn't know we did the
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra meditation together. Most probably I didn't know you at
Yeah.
that time, but then we did
Exactly.
the Tony Robbins
Yes.
New Year and New You
Twice.
challenge.
Twice.
Hmm.
We remember in
Yes.
September in Toronto when we saw each other at the
Right.
success. What was it called? So without knowing each other, like what we're
Right.
doing, we always end up,
Right.
because I always truly
Crossing
believe that
paths.
crossing path universe brings people and places in front of you because we're all like-minded, we're all attracting each other,
Right.
right? We're part of the
Right.
soul tribe family, and
Right.
it's so important. We're all beacons of light, in this darkness that we're all living in this world. But we all have that ability. I always say that people are like candles, right? We all have this light inside of us, and sometimes our light is dim, or sometimes it gets shut off, and we live in this overshadowing of darkness. But then someone can just smile at you and really loving
Right.
smile at you, as simple as a smile. And then all of a sudden their
Yes.
light gets lit up, and they're lit up, and it's contagious. They're like, oh my God, that person just looked at me and gave me this warm smile. And then they smile to someone else, and then their lights are being shined. And
Passed on.
it's
Yes.
exactly, and that's what life is. Kindness is that way. The kindness is the most purest form of love. That if you just be kind to everyone every day, no matter what, you know, I remember like we're ordering food and they're like, why are you giving that person like such a big tip? Well, that him and I and that her, we're the same. Don't forget, if I'm giving them their money, that means I'm giving it back to myself because I'm appreciating. We might be
Right.
strapped right now, but I'm giving back because I see they're working really hard, to bring this food or whatever they're doing. And, so we're giving it back to each other, little small
Right.
ways that we don't think about, give
Right.
back to those people. They're working hard,
Right.
they're hustling, they're doing the jobs that not most of us want to do. Right. So we have to show them appreciation. We have to show them gratitude.
Right.
And right.
And
Because
it's not even it's not also what most of us would want to do. It's also perhaps things that we did.
yes.
Maybe because you worked in a restaurant before,
Yes.
and right, and
Right.
what would, I mean, if someone gave you a tip, a big
Right.
tip, what
Yeah.
would it be like for
Right.
you in those
Exactly.
days? So
Exactly.
it's not the tip, it's not the money, it's that experience that you're offering, that you are worthy, and I appreciate what you're doing here at this restaurant, and you do great work, and I noticed
Absolutely.
that.
Exactly.
It's just making that person feel that, because that money is going to run out. That person will go outside, buy something, and it's gone. But she will
Yeah.
remember you when you walk into the restaurant again. You
Yes.
know, whether you tip her the same or not, but she will remember you. And sometimes they will respond to you in a way, like they'll treat you special, and they'll take
Yes.
care of you.
Yes.
Human beings reciprocate.
That's right. That's right. Because at the
You know,
end of the day, guys, once we're gone, we're gone. And we can't take our money. We can't take our fame. We can't
yes,
take everything that materialism that we've worked on.
right.
But what is left behind is how you made people feel. How
Feel.
did you make people feel? Did you make a
Yes,
difference in their life? Did you
right.
show them kindness and love at every avenue, every part, no matter what, without judgment, without ridicule, whatever it is. That is my legacy. My
Right.
legacy is to leave a trailblaze of love and kindness wherever I go. Show the
Absolutely.
appreciation, show love everywhere. When I go grocery shopping, I say thank you so much. Like I thank I just say thank you to everybody because I'm showing gratitude. I'm showing
Yes.
that I appreciate them. And then they have tears in their eyes. Like, thank you for taking the time to appreciate it
Right.
because it's been hard. They're putting themselves out there. And even nurses, when I was in the hospital, I said, please, like I told my husband or my kids, whoever, I said, bring something to show them gratitude because they're working really hard, you know, and we snap because, we're always feeling our feelings, but we have to remember we have to live outside of our own feelings. We have to look
Right.
outside of our ego and our, fears, and just live with love and light, and the rest is bliss. This Once you let go of
Absolutely.
fear, and and judgment, and you just live with no expectations, and that's how I learned I do things because I want to, and I don't expect anything back from you. I don't expect anything back from you. I'm doing it because it's from me.
It's fulfilling.
That's right.
Very fulfilling. Yes.
Exactly. So,
Yes.
and once you start living that way, um, life is bliss. It truly is. And
It is.
nothing, yeah. And you recover faster too. Like you were saying that
Absolutely.
you take longer too for certain things. But if you notice, the more you start living this way with gratitude and forgiveness,
Absolutely.
it's, yes, important to feel your feelings, important to go through the emotion, but don't wallow in it. Let go, release.
Right.
So
Right.
that's really important. Yeah, no one's saying
So
don't feel it. Yeah.
yes, it becomes a kind of self discipline, to
Yes.
consciously lift yourself out of that dark, like way of thinking of,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to hold on to this and wallowing in it. So, it takes some kind of discipline and self regulation to take it. And then the more you keep doing it, the faster you keep snapping out of it, and it gets better and better. Like that's been my experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because like last June,
Mhm.
it, just this past June, so 6 months ago now, my husband and I, after 29 years of marriage, we separated. We're on the verge of divorce, and there was things that happened. Nothing that it was like tragic, but in my early 20s, if that would have happened, I would have lost it, and I would have been physically violent with, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I wasn't. But in my mindset,
didn't have that.
it didn't have, yeah. So, but in my mindset, I had to go through the emotions of loss because it was like a grieving period because it was like the person I've known more than half of my life. And now it's gone.
Right.
And I had to say, you know what? Thank you for the 29 years that you've given me. And I just treat the person now with kindness and love. And I, never say anything bad with my kids. And whenever we have, any kind of celebration, I make sure that person is here and involved in family because, it is what it is, guys. Things happen in life. And sometimes, I was growing and that person wasn't. And the elastic of relationship, either it would snap or we had to let go. And sometimes letting go, it's not easy, but it's the right
It's
step.
the best thing.
Right.
It's the best thing to do for both
Exactly.
people. Yes.
Exactly. So,
Yes.
and that's what it happened. We had to say goodbye and farewell after 29 years. And a lot of people in marriages feel like, I have to stay for my children. I have to stay because of fear, financial impact in your life. But again, you're letting fear control you. We have to step away from fear controlling you. And I'm sure,
Absolutely.
it's hard. It's very difficult, because when you have children, it's really hard. But at the same time, you have to learn, what am I teaching my children? Like
Absolutely. It's a very inauthentic way of being, and children are not foolish. They get it.
yes,
They can
yes,
sense it. They are
yes,
born from you. They sense
exactly,
it.
exactly.
Maybe they will be afraid and they won't say it, but they
Yes,
sense it that my parents are inauthentic and they don't
yes,
love each other. And
yes,
this is, and it's even worse
yes,
when some, I've noticed some parents, when the children are grown up, they will complain, oh, we stayed in the marriage because of you guys. That's
that's right.
horrible.
That is horrible. It's your choice.
That
And
is
that's,
horrible.
yeah,
Imagine what the child feels like that. Oh, really? Like you I love I'm giving an example
Yeah,
that
of course.
if I love my parents, if
Yeah,
I know that my parents were trapped in tyranny or some kind of like
yeah,
injustice or unfair relationship
right.
because of me,
Yeah,
how am I supposed to feel?
exactly. Exactly.
You have to be mindful of what you're saying and how
Absolutely.
it is going to impact your children. So
Exactly.
it is unfair if a relationship is not working.
Exactly.
Either ways, the children are feeling pain. They get
That's right.
it.
Yes,
So it's
absolutely.
better to be authentic
Absolutely.
and move on. In that way, I feel the children will have some respect for you.
Well, it's inauthentic of me of what I'm preaching.
Mm.
You have to practice
Right.
what you preach. I talk about
Absolutely.
self-love. Well, if I love myself, will I allow this person to do this kind of things. And it wasn't one-sided, it was both-sided. I understand that it takes two to tango. It's never just
Right.
one thing. But our
Yes.
relationship has become something that, you know, we had respect, we had love, we love each other, but it was something that was pulling us apart. Like we just weren't clicking anymore. Like my thoughts
Right.
and my feelings, I was growing one way and he was going a totally different way. And we just weren't meshing. And
Right.
it was better just to say, go our separate ways because it's just not working. And we're still
Right.
young enough and be more authentic in living, be happier with ourselves. And you
Yes.
still go through the grieving period because,
Yes.
you lost a part of you, your best friend
Yes.
that you've known for this many years, and you tell them everything to like, and of course the relationship will go back into friendship afterwards, right? Once you heal
Absolutely.
and you go through your healing process, you have to allow time to heal
I
yourself.
think that's a better relationship
Absolutely. It is a better
because
relationship.
you're not able to. I mean, being in a dysfunctional marriage where the relationship is falling apart,
Yes,
you're not finding that space to feel love. But when you
exactly.
just give each other space, separate, and then come back together as a friend, I think there's more understanding and more learning from, all, and more appreciation for each other.
Absolutely. And because we were able to handle it that way, it was even though my kids are grown, they still were so traumatized that this happened. They couldn't believe,
Right.
like, my family, like, we were, you're the pinnacle, you are our
Yes.
idol, you are this, like,
Yes.
we
It
put you on
makes
this
it.
pedestal. I'm like, guys, we're human. Like, we have our own things that we're going through. And because we handle it with so much love and kindness and grace, they said, okay, you know what? Things happen in life. And
Right.
so we're showing things happen in life, no matter what, things will happen. But how do
Right.
you move forward? How do you react? How do you respond? And that's
Absolutely.
and that is the best way to teach your children. It doesn't matter how old they are. They still want their
Right.
mommy and daddy to be together. Doesn't matter how old they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
but we're more than mommy and daddy. We're all equal. Doesn't matter. We're all human beings. We're all self-love, loving human beings, and
Right.
we have to show love. And that everything takes work with our own selves. and
Absolutely.
and if we're not taking care of ourselves, just like when you go on an airplane, they always say put your oxygen mask on first, or else you can't help the other person. So I
Right.
had to learn, I need to put on the oxygen mask for myself before I can help anyone else. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so
I mean,
work on.
how would you perform? How would you give love in your books, in your Reiki, in your
Right,
healing, in
exactly,
your communication if you're not feeling loved? So
exactly,
it does, and you'll be depleted. So
exactly.
that's very true. It's very important to fill your own cup.
Cup,
Well,
yes.
yes. Thank you so much, Medea, for all your, you're such a beautiful storyteller, and all your lessons are woven, intertwined with the story. Keep sharing your stories with the
Thank you.
world. I want to co-write a book with you.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do
Yes,
it.
I have two different ideas that I will share with you later when we chat. But it's such an honor to know you. You are such an amazing, loving, kind person.
Thank you.
And what I've learned from your story is that it's not, you've had more than one challenging time. You've had adversities, and I know from what you had shared that you were unwell with your hemoglobin going down, but then you had shared you had cancer later, and
Yes,
then
we
you
did.
were sick again last year, I think,
Yes,
and it has come back a few times. But you've been resilient, you've been unstoppable, and from what I get, is, and from what I understand of you, is that this resilience comes from your self discipline, that comes from all the practices that you uh, keep on a daily basis with, finding opportunities to love yourself, and your meditation and forgiveness and letting go. All of those tools. It's not a one time thing that when you're in trouble, you do it just then and then it's over. It is a discipline. It is a way of being. So that's what you are working on. That's what you are mastering.
Yeah.
And, it's lovely to see that. It's you're such a role model. Thank you
Thank you.
so much
Thank
to
you.
all the people who listen to Medea. I'm very sure you have so much to learn from her and to share with others. She is such a beacon of light. She is our North Star. And I am so honored to have so many stars in our constellation. Thank you so much. Keep shining your light
Thank you.
and have a wonderful long weekend.
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank
Happy
you.
Family
Family
Day.
too. Thank
Happy
you.
every day to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So much blessings of love and light to you and to
Thank
all the
you.
beautiful souls in the world. I love you all so much with all my heart. Thank you.
Oh, love you too. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.